Welcome back to the Celtics Nation Rise Podcast. I'm your host, Griffin Aldridge.
I'm your co-host Ryan Barley, aka RZB Sports.
And we got a special guest here today. We're interviewing him, Derrick White super fan, Ricky. What's up, man?
Great to be here, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course, we're so hyped to have you on. I was talking to you before the podcast. My brother is a huge Derrick White fan, obviously, like I said, and we saw you during that finals run. We saw you running down, getting all hyped up with a Derrick White shirt. Tell me how. Just tell me why, like, you're a Celtics fan. Like, tell me what's the reason for it.
Wow, that's a loaded question
It
there.
really is.
But it's a loaded question, but I'll do the best to answer that. So it's going to age me, but I've been a Celtics fan for a really long time. I think the first game I remember attending in the old Boston Garden was maybe 1982. I might have been in like second, third grade. And Tiny Archibald, he was on the team then, and somehow I gravitated to Tiny. And ever since then, I have been just a diehard Celtic fan. The way I like to put it is going to the Garden. It's my therapy. I don't see a therapist, but I go there instead.
Yeah.
I just got off the season ticket wait list this past year, so I've been going to every game, and it's just so much fun to be there.
That's sick, man. I'm wearing the Derrick White jersey for you today. I had to put that
Nice.
on. Ryan, you had a few questions too.
Yeah, so obviously, I want to say I'm glad to see that you're a Boston Celtics fan. Seeing fans like you only inspires me to just put more towards my Boston Celtics, whether that's making these podcast videos or even traveling from where I live to Boston, like I did for the ring ceremony night. Seeing Derek White, man, how iconic was it seeing him go from the hairline all the way midway back on his head to completely bald? How much has it changed his game and his
Ooh,
viewpoints of that he's been getting from fans?
wow. Well, good question. So we remember when D White came to us. I believe it was 2022 midseason. It was the year that when Ime was the coach. He didn't gel all that well. It took a really long time for him to really get there. And I don't think he really became an integral part of our team until the following year. Um,
Yes.
so, and then that was when he still had his hair. So I'll never forget the buzzer beater in Miami that he put back. He still had his big hair. So it was quite shocking to see him come in the next year with nothing. But he has transformed from hair D White to ball D White, and it's just a player on the next level these days.
Yes, sir. It's like, anything that he's done to his body, like even when he wears the headbands with Jason Tatum, he plays good. So, I mean, seeing him go from the bad hairline to bald has definitely improved his game. Where is that at on like your legendary wall for Derek White? If you had like top five moments, where would the moment of him going bald stand in that top five? Is that the very top or at the very bottom? Like, all your memories that you've had with Derek White, where is that standing at?
I'd say it's number two behind
Number
that
two?
behind that putback shot in Miami. Number two is going bald because it was just something completely out of the blue, just like that buzzer beater. So
And it's crazy because actually I do remember that buzzer beater. I was in Atlanta at an Ed Sheeran concert and I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I remember I was running down the ramp, had my shirt off, screaming like, "There's going to be a game 7! Let's go!" And uh and that was just very iconic. I love that moment. What has stood out about, Derek White as a teammate for the Boston Celtics organization? What is he doing so well to be able to stay in the starting lineup and be able to, continue being a part of this organization?
I mean, I got two words for you, or three. He's the ultimate glue guy. He does everything, not just the dirty work, but he can also put the ball in the hoop as well. I
Yes.
feel like his shooting has gotten so much better over the course of the last 3 years of being here. But when you have a guard who can block as many shots as, like Dwight Howard could, you know you have something special.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's the big thing about Derrick White too. He's a point guard. I remember he got his 400th career block, in his career. And it just allows a lot of these big men to know that, hey, you can drive in on Derrick White, but you're not going to get the bucket 100%. I mean, I remember seeing Derrick White block Giannis Antetokounmpo. That was one of my like, wow, wow moments for Derrick White, And so seeing that was very special. I have a question though. Um, you've met Derek White, have you?
Very briefly,
Oh,
yes. I
you
wish we
Very
had a
did?
briefly.
You gotta tell
conversation.
us about that. You gotta
Yeah,
tell us
tell
about
us
Oh,
about that.
it was at an autograph session. That's all it
that.
was.
Awesome.
It was just a quick one, and it was before I made a bunch of shirts. So it was before he actually found out about me.
Yeah.
So
Oh, so you made
unfortunately,
those shirts?
I made a bunch of them. I bought a bunch of them and gave them to a bunch of people at the garden. Not physically made them. I know the one of the designers where you can buy them from directly instead of through T Public or
And
whatever
is
else
it
it
the
is.
ones with his face? Is
The
it the
ones with his face.
Okay,
Yes,
so that's
yes.
the one that my brother bought. All right.
Okay,
So
nice.
I
Gotta
I
hook
have
me up
a
with that person. I need to get me one of those white shirts. I do. I do.
so I have a question. If this ever comes across your mind, I would like to hear it. So if Derek White was to get MVP in an NBA Finals run and banner number 19 was to happen, Derek White has to get MVP though. Or if he doesn't have to get MVP and we just have to get banner number 19, would you go bald with him?
I knew that was coming. I knew that was coming. I'm not going to answer that right now. So just this past season, the promise I made, I don't know if you recall, I had a big mustache with
Yep.
braids this
Yep.
past season.
Yes.
I promised if they were going to win it, I was gonna kill it. So I did that, and now I got this thing growing. If they win it again, I'll kill this thing. So the hair, I'll keep that in the back of my mind. It's a
Okay.
possibility.
Okay, but look, if Derek White gets MVP, will that give you more of a push to possibly cut your hair?
I think so. I
Yes,
think
sir.
so.
You
I
were
think
Awesome.
saying,
so.
Ryan, you were saying question me yesterday that you wanted to ask him about. Se- Come on, you gotta say that one.
That what question was it again? I
The
forgot.
sacrifice for a Derek White hairline or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What are the if you were to gosh, if you- I don't even know how to put it. I forgot how I was gonna word that question. Griffin, I'll let you ask him a few questions while I think of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, obviously, we talk about Derek White, but what made you so fond of Derek White? What made you become that fan of Derek White? Obviously, we know you as a Derek White super fan because we saw you rocking that Derek White shirt, getting all hyped up, and that's what made me trigger. Oh, that's a Derek White super fan. What made you like Derek White? Like, what was the reason? Was it his defensive abilities, or what was that?
Great, another great question. I've always been a defensive-minded guy, as you can see my Instagram handle.
Yeah.
But I think D White, he had I used to enjoy watching his play when he was with San Antonio, because any Greg Popovich coached player always has a little bit of extra smarts. And so I watched him a few times, and once we got him, I was just like, this is the kind of guy who can really, he's going to be a glue type of guy. He's never going to average 22 points a game, but he's going to be a really important piece of our team. It just didn't show up that first year, as I said a little bit earlier. It's only in that second year, that first full season that he had, is when he really took the leap, and that's when I think I really like my love for him blossomed in that one season. But again, at the first at half season where he was here, the struggle it was there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it
100%.
was there. And honestly, like, how, just seeing Derek White on this court, always smiling when he's
His
pissing
toothless
people off.
chips,
But
everything.
yeah, the toothless
Yeah.
chip, everything. He's
Yeah.
always smiling, no matter how ugly it may be. I like that from him. When he's pissing other players off, he's just smiling at them and it pisses them off. It
No
is so
doubt.
it's so nice to see. It's so nice to see, and just seeing him as an undrafted, player coming into the league and looking at where he's at now, the Spurs really did mess up. The Spurs really did mess up. That man's good. So, do you think there's any part of Derrick White's game that he needs to work on?
As an outsider watching the game, of course, you could shoot 100% free throw, be 100% free throw shooter. You could be 100% 3-point shooter.
Oh yeah.
His game is so well rounded, specifically for our team. Every role that he plays for our team is ideal. So for us, I don't know if there's anything that he needs to improve on outwardly. Of course, you could be a better shooter. Of course, you could probably, get lower in your defensive stance. But as just a fan, I have a tough time. He's perfect in my eyes.
I agree. I do have
So
a
if
question.
he, yeah, go ahead.
What is your thoughts? I know we've been talking about Derek White a lot, but you're a real big Celtics fan, like you said. You've been a fan for forever. What's your thoughts on the team this year? We've been talking about this in a lot of our podcasts. Is there a panic button that we need to worry about, or what do you think? Because you're a experienced Celtics fan, and I want you to give us some hope. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I think, last year changed my opinion of a lot of things. I can't believe I'm saying this out in the public, but for the first 3 or 4 years of his career, I was not a Jason Tatum fan. He was
Oh,
an isolation ball guy. I just felt like the decision making was not there. It's when Ime came to the team, that's when we started to see the new Jason Tatum.
yeah,
But this year, I think having won the chip last year, it's obviously there's a little bit of not a letdown, but they're sort of their mindset is okay. It's a long season. It's these are the dog days. We just got to get to April and be healthy. It's kind of where I'm at, and what we need to do is slowly, gradually ramp ourselves up.
like
What are our record? 27-10 right now. I
yeah,
Yeah.
mean, and look at us. We're complaining about it in so many ways.
I mean, yeah, exactly. A lot of teams are, would be happy to be in this position at a 27-10 record. But as one of the greatest, or the greatest, basketball organization, being the defending champs, you fans even hold themselves to high standards, because we're the ones showing up to these games, rooting on our team, paying our money, because we love our team. So the money doesn't even, really matter. But it's like if we're gonna show up and give it our all, we want to see our team give it their all, and we hate to see them, have setbacks. But yeah, the panic button on Jason Tatum is that, like you're saying, sometimes he can play just a one man ball, and be picky with his decisions on passing it around the court.
yeah. I think
So,
sorry
yeah.
about that. Yeah, I think another thing is too, like you kind of said, Ricky. It's kind of we just won a championship. They're trying to fast forward to April. And I think that, all right, yeah, Ryan, what you said, fans are paying a lot of money for these tickets to go watch the game, and they're expecting their team to win. But at the same time, as a fan, would you be more happy if they lost and won at a game you went to, or would you rather see Banner 19? And I think the ultimate answer to that is Banner 19 because I think that's what, unless you're a bandwagon or you're a
Mhm.
person that doesn't really care about the Celtics, you just want to go there and see them win, then you're sacrificing going to a game and watching them lose to get Banner 19.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, no, I 100% agree. I do want to see banner number 19 when it's all said and done. But going back to Mr. Derek White, super fan, if you were to ask Derek White one question, the biggest question that you have for him that comes to your mind right this moment, whatever you're thinking of, what would it be?
I would ask him, was it because of Charles and Shaq? Did you shave your head?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Because those were the guys that clowned him publicly for the first time ever, or out in the public. And so that's what I would ask him.
What was your first thought when you saw Derek White bald? Because I was shocked. I was like, whoa.
He kept it quiet. He kept it
Yeah.
quiet too.
You saw clips of it at like a wedding, I think. Is that what it
Hmm.
was? A wedding. And then
Yeah.
you saw clips from practice and then and I was like, whoa. I don't even remember my reaction. Do you
Whoa.
remember yours?
I can't remember my reaction either. It was just more a sense of just that really just happened. Why? Did he lose a bet? I wasn't sure about any of it. So
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm gonna piggyback on that. If I were to ask Derrick White a question, I would ask, what is your end goal by the end of your career? Like, what do you have a certain achievement you want with blocks, or like what's your like end goal? If I were to ask him a question, what about you, Ryan?
Yeah, and honestly, like I'm gonna go ahead and just pick up on what I have, to answer to respond to that. I think, when I look at Derek White, I don't see him being, a Marcus Smart where the Celtics get rid of him. I think, him and I mean, I say Pritchard's our lucky charm, but Derek White, I mean, looking at where he came from and the type of player he is, I feel like it's going to be like I I'm not talking about personality when I say this, but it's going to be like a Draymond Green of the Boston Celtics. Like he'll stay with the Celtics for his entire career, and he'll be that one that's able to, get things spicy out there on the court, with his energy and his smile when he pisses people off. But if I had one question to ask Derek White too, honestly is uh what's his favorite moment as a Celtic, having that chipped tooth or that buzzer beater in Miami or just shaving the head bald and getting the fans reaction. I mean, those are three iconic moments that he had as a Celtic player. So yeah, that's why I would ask him.
I want to show you guys something cool. So I don't know if it's for all McDonald's, but I went to McDonald's last night just to get this Celtics bag. I don't even eat McDonald's, but I had to get there for the Celtics bag. Have you guys seen it?
Yeah. No.
wow, no.
I know it's weird. So wait, so are you a native to Boston?
I am. Yep. I didn't grow up in Boston, but I've lived here. I lived here for big chunks of my life, but I've also lived all over the country big chunks of my life. So
That's awesome. So you're a season ticket holder this year, right? Correct?
I am. Yes.
So
First,
how
this is the first year off the wait list. So
That's sick.
Let's
How many
go.
games have you went to this year?
the more appropriate question is, have I missed any games this year?
Yeah.
Wow. How's the
Uh,
energy? I know you guys both have been to, obviously, you've been to plenty of games. Ryan, you went to the home opener. How has the energy been in this building this year? Because I went last year. I kind of try to get to one at least a year. I go to a lot of the Maine Celtics games because I'm in Maine. But how's kind of the energy this year? Obviously, Ricky, you know
Yeah.
best because you've been there for
Yeah.
several. So I want to hear.
I'll I'll definitely let him answer. I'm gonna just answer from my one game experience. When I went and it was ring ceremony night, I had so many chills for sure. Honestly, as far as Celtics Nation just taking over the stadium, it was quite shocking to see rarely any New York Knicks fans. Like I thought there would be more Knicks fans there, considering it's open tonight. So it was good that Celtic fans, really came for the ring ceremony, bought tickets. But I will say on social media there was a lot of people saying like, "Oh wow, your fans should be louder considering y'all just won the championship. Y'all are the best team." I'm like, you know what? I'm not even gonna listen to them. They're just hating because they're mad. They're jealous. They're not us. It's different here.
Yeah. Ricky, how you feel?
yeah. So I have a different perspective because I've been to a lot of away stadiums.
Wow.
And in fact, this year so far, I've been to Charlotte. I've been to
Oh, you been to Charlotte?
Chicago.
I live in Charlotte.
Oh, no, okay. I went to the back to back there when it was in early December. I was there.
Yeah, and I was doing interviews on that second day. Dang, I wish I would have saw you.
Oh, no, no kidding. Yep.
Yeah,
So I was there. So I have a different perspective in the sense that I don't know if there's any more energetic, facility than the Garden. From the in-game, the noise that gets pumped through the stadium, through what the fans actually do. I'm not sure, and obviously I have a major bias. But I've been to a lot of different places, and we're fortunate to be watching basketball at the stadium that we're at. We're very fortunate.
I do gotta say too, we just played Denver, and there were so many Celtics fans. Did you see that one section right behind the Celtics bench was all green? And you see that every time you
Yeah.
go to Denver, but you see that every time. And I think that might motivate the Celtics as you
Well,
see them doing so good on the road because they have so many fans there to support them.
and it's like, when I look, Celtics fans, they travel on the road, especially, they're really big in Washington for sure. And
Yep.
when I think of this Denver, crowd with Celtics fans in the crowd, quite frankly, it's kind of shocking. Like considering that they're not, too far behind. They just won a championship. They have a lot of good things going on. Especially if it's a big game. Like those are like the two of the defending champions right there. You should want your crowd to show out to say, "Hey, look, our fans are better." And to let Celtics fans take over your stadium like that,
Crazy. Ricky, I do have another question. Sorry. About the going to away stadiums. Did you do that on purpose or did you like have plans there or did you just want to follow the
Oh, anytime I go to a away game, I would say it's because I'm going for the away game.
that's
So I've been to, I think the number is like maybe 19 stadiums, 19 cities.
Ooh, okay.
I think it's not. I think I have to double check, but I don't have it right up. I think it's between 17 and 19 is what I think. So, um, the one big one that I have not gotten to yet is LA. A
I've been
quick shout out to all the people over there. Hopefully, that situation gets solved. It's heartbreaking to see, but
prayers
um,
for LA,
that's
man.
what. But that's one of the stadiums I've not been to. So next year I plan on getting there. So.
Oh yeah, special shout out to Randy too. I know he's in LA right now, so special shout out to him. Prayers with LA right now. Uh, what was your favorite stadium that you went to?
Ooh,
And like,
wow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Favorite.
Okay, give me a second here. The favorite stadium that I've been to. I would have to say this was probably about 20 something years ago. I went to the Rose Garden, the former Rose Garden in Portland, where the Blazers played,
Gotcha.
and that stadium was awesome. Not to mention, I am a Celtics. I bleed green through and through. But if I had a Western Conference team, it would be the Portland Trailblazers.
I like that. Yeah, I was actually on our podcast earlier. I think we lost Ryan, but on our podcast earlier, I actually went to not went to. I was talking about that and I said if I had to pick a team, it would maybe be the Kings if I had to.
Hmm.
That's interesting to know. I love that for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah, so any questions you have? Like I'm curious to know what you have.
Yeah, I'd just like to know, like, give me a little bit of how you guys got into doing these podcasts. And, this is my first podcast ever. So I was just curious why you chose me. And it's awesome to meet Celtics homers everywhere. So tell me a little bit of why you started this.
Oh yeah, so I appreciate the great question. So the reason I started this was because I've always been into kind of content. I've always liked the idea of making content for sure, and I have experience with a podcast before, and I tried that, but it wasn't exactly what I wanted. Like I'm such a diehard Celtics fan and Boston fan. I'm so obsessed with Boston sports. So I had some buddies and we're like, hey, let's do this podcast. Like, this is a perfect time. We can mess around, have fun with it. And then we started it, and I was like, I need to start getting some people on, and I want this podcast to be for the Celtics fans. And you came into mind because I was like, man, I remember seeing him with the Derrick White shirt, and I was so hyped. And then I was looking through Instagrams and then I finally came across your Instagram and I was like, no way, we gotta get him on. I actually texted you and that's when we contacted. And I just want to say you're doing a fantastic job. We loved having you on the podcast. We definitely, if you're interested, would love to have you come on some more if you would like. Like we do,
yes, sir.
Absolutely.
yeah, we do a
Yes,
weekly
sir.
podcast, so that's what we do. Um,
Hey,
Ryan,
I'm sorry that I lost y'all. Yeah, I lost y'all, but definitely just backtracking to what Ricky was saying. Definitely thinking of LA right now. As bad as we, want to compete with the LA Lakers. At this moment, it's not even really about basketball. It's about all the lives that are, going away, and the wildfire, and how much of a recovery this is going to be. I mean, this is happening in California. It's big over there. This is where all the money is, quite frankly. And so I definitely am wanting to eventually do something to get back when it's time to, for
Oh
sure.
yeah, for sure. For sure. Ryan, he just asked a question too. What
Yeah.
how do you feel about joining this podcast? Like what was the thing when I asked you to join? How you feel about that?
Yeah, honestly, I got a lot of messages at first, when I started posting Boston Celtics content of like, oh, you're just a ad alone, you're just a bandwagon that hopped on the train. And when I got the podcast invite, I just felt like it was an opportunity for me to go show my knowledge, to for me to go show where I'm coming from on my journey of becoming a Boston Celtics fan and just proving my points. So it's been fun getting on here. I want to be a sports announcer in the professional leagues. I'm in college. So just being able to keep my mind fresh on really all the NBA teams, NFL teams, but speak about my favorite team, it's definitely been a blessing. And it doesn't have a lot of subscribers and followers right now, but like I was telling Griffin, that's the fun thing about it. Going through the adversity and working your way up is one of the best things you can have for your content.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Ryan, I got a quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
So you mentioned a couple times about becoming a Boston Celtics fan. Were
Yeah.
you a fan of some other team before, or a Charlotte,
Um,
perhaps, since you live there? Or
Yeah, so I lived in Charlotte, or I still live in Charlotte. I started watching basketball in really like 2013. Really paying attention to when Isaiah Thomas came along for the Boston Celtics in 2015, I believe it was. And I would actually specifically go to the Celtics games when they came to Charlotte. Though that was the team that I so happened to buy tickets for every time they came to Charlotte. I don't know what it was. I think it's because my grandma, she told me how she met Larry Bird, and Larry Bird was a part of this organization. But I actually started watching Celtics basketball in Charlotte, not knowing anything about them, not knowing their iconic history of being a championship caliber team and organization, and they would always just smack up on the Hornets. And then as I just started watching the Celtics more and more and more, you see this 5'6" point guard with so much adversity of like losing his sister, getting doubted, just saying that he wasn't good enough to be a leader of a team, leading one of the greatest teams in NBA history. I'm like, wow, like this is a big moment. And as I just started watching more and more of Isaiah Thomas, I started just picking up on more Boston Celtics players. And then I think what really set the tone too is when I was just really more focused on college basketball than when I was starting to learn about the Boston Celtics. And I grew up as a Tar Heel fan, but I am a Florida Gator fan. I was put in a Tar Heels family, and we would always have our get-togethers when UNC and Duke played, and Jason Tatum was a big factor. Also, when he got drafted to the Celtics, I was like, oh, I don't like this dude. But then, like, I had to watch him too in his rookie season, and his game against the Cleveland Cavaliers when LeBron James was playing for them. And I just started, learning about the team, and learning some of their history, and got glued to the organization. And I became a fan before even knowing about their history. So it kind of makes me upset when people want to bring that up. Oh, you're just a fan for their history. Granted, like I wasn't even really alive for all their history, so quite frankly, like yeah, it's nice. I'm glad we have that as a background picture, but I think it's more special being a fan, witnessing great things like a championship this year as a Celtics fan instead of going back and talking about the history.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. And
So,
I feel like you must have been mixed with some wrong Celtics fans because I don't think that's we're just
It
happy.
wasn't even it wasn't even the Celtics fans. It wasn't even
Oh,
the Celtics fans.
God.
It was just social media. You know how they are.
Yeah,
It's a jealousy thing. We got these sorry Cleveland Cavalier fans, when I was posting about them, the sorriest fans in the league, you have these New Yorkers, they just wish they can be on this side. And quite frankly, the team that they chose to support is just they're not us.
yeah.
Boston is different here, I think, also what made me even more glued to this organization and an eye-opening moment for this team was coming to Boston this year and, you know, being a part of ring night. I don't think if I was a bandwagon, I would have took my trip to Boston, first time ever flying on a plane to watch ring night.
Yeah.
So I can back my moments up of knowing about this team. I have met some really good fans, and Boston was so nice when I came, and people were saying, "Oh, Boston fans are mean, yada yada yada." But honestly, quite frankly, I had a good experience. So, yeah.
So we have about like 5 more minutes. So Ricky, again, I would love to have you on another podcast if you'd be down for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, dude, it's been great. I do want to ask you another thing. Do you have any goals that you want to see for the rest of the season? Like any, you go to the games, do you want them to do better on a certain part of their game or like,
What are your goals to
yeah,
see at the stadium?
I have one goal: stay healthy. That's the one goal. Nothing else matters for this team. I can't foresee a team defeating this team in a 7 game series if we are at full health. I that
Let's
that's so the only thing I say is health.
so with,
let's grow the list, Griffin. We have to get his thoughts. You say stay healthy. Kristaps Porzingis has been struggling with that this
this year with
year.
that
What are
Gavin
your thoughts on
Thomas.
him?
Yeah, he's that's an interesting case. There was some I don't know some local talk show folks talking about, oh, could we trade him? Could we get something? We're not going to trade him. What we need to do is probably just keep him in a bubble until April, and then pop the bubble and let him free. We that guy
I
is so
mean,
important to everything that we do. So,
Yeah, I
He
agree.
he is important, and honestly, I really do hope he proves me wrong. Obviously, the way that I view, his regular season, I could be making it a big deal, saying that, I think we should explore and see our options for him, knowing that he's injury prone. But if he goes into April, like you said, and he just sparks this highlight of consistency and being a dynamic player, then take my words back. I will do any punishment because I don't want to, say like get rid of this guy and, he just proves me wrong. But it's like, dang, like this is starting to become a bigger issue than Robert Williams was. But I
I
mean,
think
granted,
I gotta
I'm
stop you.
glad we have a big man that can shoot though.
Yeah, I agree. I gotta stop you on that because see, I'm a big Porzingis guy. I actually, like you said, how you went to one of those Derrick White meet and greets. I went to a Porzingis one, and I think it's just like he's it's more than just him playing for Boston. I think it's his love for Boston too. Do you realize that when you go to the games, do you see him giving his coffee to the fans? Do you notice that? Like he'll
oh,
cheers it.
he not only coffee. I sat by the Celtics bench once. He hands out pieces of gum to the fans close by.
No way.
Um, he's sort of like a folk hero there in the Garden. We all saw the ovation that he got when in the finals when he returned, and even when he returned for his first game this season. It was like Paul Bunyan returning, and the crowd went nuts.
I
So
love I love
um,
it. That's awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely we gotta hear some more stories because I'm sure you've had a lot of connections with this for going to so many games and stuff. And I just love to hear about that. Yeah, we're running out of time, but again, it was great having you on the podcast. We're definitely gonna work
Yes,
out so
absolutely.
we can have you on here again soon if you're down. If you'd like,
absolutely,
yeah.
let me know
Um,
when.
any
Let's
final
do it.
thoughts?
I'm gonna
Any
find
final
you,
thoughts
Ricky,
you
on
want to leave?
Instagram.
Yeah. Any final thoughts you want to leave the fans with?
Hey, all I dream about is the number 19. That's all I got in my mind, and
Let's go.
whatever it takes to get there.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you guys again for watching. Question. So we just wrapped up our other podcast, but we had to stop it because I forgot to give my predictions too. Our podcast is going to be next Wednesday. We play the Kings and one other
And the Pelicans.
Pelicans. What do you think our record is going to be after that? I think we'll go 2-0. I think we'll win those two games. I think the next time we meet will be 29-10. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm going to completely agree with you. The Pelicans are at the bottom of the barrel, and the Kings just fired their coach recently. I think they're in a little bit of disarray, so that should be hopefully, a completely scot-free, easy two straight wins.
I agree. Well, thank you guys again so much for watching. Thank you, Ricky, for joining us. We will have you back on
Yes.
soon.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you guys. It was real.
Thank you, guys.